Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Amrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomosoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya Asato Ma Satgamaya Tomasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrit Yoma Amritam Gamaya.
Hello, hello. It is Tuesday night, 5:55, so it is time for us to gather and tune in. Thank you again and again and again to Alicia Mathewson for the beautiful chant that guides us into this space every single week. if you're not familiar with it, the Asato Ma Prayer is this calling, this remembering. Lead me from untruth into truth. Lead me from darkness into light. And lead me from death to immortality. And so we open the space with that foundation of certainty that all is well, all is exactly as it is supposed to be. And our ability to move the lens to the side, move the filter, maybe just change the filter, allows us to see things with a different perspective. And then we can remember, oh, that's all in my head. I'm not sure why, but this is the story that I've been replaying and telling myself over and over. And I can just remove that lens and get back to my truth, get back to my light, get back to my knowing that I am an immortal being in a very finite, limited body. And somehow remembering that, it just allows all the drama to fall away. So here we are. It is, what is today? May 22nd. It is the Tuesday before Memorial Day here in the United States. It is time for graduations, for school to wrap up, for summer to begin. Everyone is, not everyone, many of the people I know are in this tumultuous, that's not always the right word, busy. It's like very busy and schedule driven and, lots of celebrations, but also lots of deadlines and lots of projects that need to be completed. My husband is a teacher at a high school, and there is so much, junior high school, the part he teaches, there's so much that needs to be wrapped up, and school ends with students on Thursday, and then teachers have their last day Friday, and it's summer. So there's this urgency that is very palpable in my area, at least, and I'm assuming there are matches for you if you're feeling called to watch this. So when I was pondering what the topic would be for tonight, this morning when I woke up, I was rushing. I was trying to get all my errands done and get things organized. We had no food in the house, and the kitchen was a mess. And so I was rushing all morning trying to get things done. And so it delayed when I started my normal meditation preparation for work routine. So I was doing my meditation a little later than normal, and I was just tuning in, like, if there's a word, if there's like one word that kind of summarizes what I feel in this moment or what I would want to share or talk about. And immediately it was like completions. I was like, well, that's easy. Okay, nothing else I need to do. I'll just show up and we'll talk about completions. And then, of course, like emails and messages and things that I read and the songs that I'm listening to, like everything brings the same message. And that's what I love. That's what I love so much about life and about the synchronicities that are always available when we're awake and aware and we're seeing the little winks and nudges and signs that, our guides, source, our higher selves continuously feed us. It's like this calm way to navigate through life, because you can settle into the knowing that you're in alignment, that there's nothing out of alignment. Yeah, did I say that right? It's like when I said it right. When you know that when you make a choice and then you start flowing in the direction of that choice, the things that show up to support your choice are validations or little exclamation marks to say, yep, you're on track. Yep, this is in alignment. Yep, that's the topic that needs to be looked at or talked about. And so I arrive in this space knowing there are all kinds of completions that lots are going through right in this moment. And as I share my story that feels relevant about completions, it has nuggets and pieces for you, for your story of whatever it is that you're completing. So mine is going to be about a book project. Yours could be about a completion of a relationship, a completion of a project, a completion of a career shift, a completion of a renovation, a completion of something with your health, completion of maybe your child is also graduating like mine did last year or like my friends are this year. Maybe you have a threshold that you are walking across, and there's a completion that is happening as you step into the next beginning. I said this so many times in Awakening the Guides, every ending is the opening to a new beginning. And so there's a completion that has to occur in order to step into the opening of whatever is available next. And so allow my rambling story to inform, to bring wisdom or greater clarity into whatever it is that you are completing. And then use that when like energy attracts like energy and we connect, there's an alchemy, a spark, an awakening that happens between us, and me sharing it with you and in you receiving it and making your own matches. There's something new that gets formed in that sharing of information. And so allow something new to inform whatever it is that you're looking at. All right. And my friend Jen just joined. So hi, Jen. I have you on mute for a little bit until you decide. You want to say hi if you do. So yeah, we're talking about completions. All right, the project that I'm going to share is a completion of a book that I have been working on. And it was interesting as I was feeling into it today. There are so many parallels to a new relationship as it begins, and then we move through the phases of the relationship, and then it gets to an ending or a transition into something new. Jen, her topic is about a house. You know, as we look at the relationship we have with our home and then perhaps releasing our home and creating a new home, you know, there are all these parallels that I was feeling as I was sitting with my story that I'm going to share. And so just simply receive, allow the information to land, and the matches present themselves, the ways where we have similarities and the ways where my awareness can create an awareness in you or in your story. It always happens. That's what happens in energy space. Okay, so my story begins last November. This is just such a fun story. I started, I don't even know how that began. I had some time by myself. So sometimes when I'm really wanting to cocoon in and connect with my guides and connect with my soul, I have this cacao that I like to drink. I'm a huge chocolate lover, and so I'll make a bowl of this really beautiful, steamy, warm cacao chocolate. And then I'll sit down and I'll have like my notes and my markers and my music playing and my Zen cards out. And, you know, I just sort of create this little cocoon, and I allow myself to go all the way into like a meditative space and then just create and write and flow information through me. And so last November, that's what happened. Actually, no, it's been before that, a year ago. I guess it's been a year and a half ago. I sat down and I was just writing. I was just putting things on paper and journaling and making some notes. And then I started to feel like I want to write these phrases, like A to Z alphabet phrases that inspire me and delight me. And so I had a big piece of paper. I like these big, I have some hanging here, like 2 feet by 3 feet sheets, the ones you can put up for conference meetings. And so I had a big sheet of paper, and I just started writing down A through Z, and I was picking random markers and just like channeling these phrases. And it started to tell a story. And it felt like it was the story of how our souls are birthed into existence, and then we take on human form and come play on earth, and then we complete that journey, and we go back again into being a soul. But it was just really simple, A to Z. And so I wrote it all out, and I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. And I could feel the delight and the flow, you know, when you're in that magical phase of creation. This is like new relationships when they start. There's that, oh, like, oh, it's so awesome, right? Or you read a good book that you want to share, or, you know, you have that buzz of like, oh, it's like beautiful. And so I flowed, and I wrote it all down, and then I didn't know what to do with it. And so I put it up on my office wall for a while. I was like, yeah, that's really cool. And for some reason, each phrase was a certain color, and I knew the color I wanted to use, and I wrote them all in the colors of markers that I had available. And then at the end, I was like, this is somehow connected to autism. Like, this book is a It's an A to Z book for autism, but I don't quite understand why. So I don't know a lot about autism. So I went to the bookstore and I started doing some research and found, these very clinical, medical, scientific explanations of how that spectrum plays out for different individuals and how to support children and families through that journey. And then there was this one book by this 13-year-old little boy. He's a grown-up now. This 13-year-old boy from Japan who is nonverbal, and he literally had an alphabet grid created, and he pointed A to Z at the letters, and his mom transcribed an entire book, A to Z, every word. He painstakingly, if you can imagine, every word he pointed to a letter, and that was how his book was created. And it's his sharing of his emotions, his feelings. So he has like questions that have been asked of him or brought to his attention, and then he would write out his answer through this alphabet grid. And I can't even tell you, I was blown away by this young man and all that he was sharing. And I could feel the match of what he was saying, which is we are so much more. We are souls in human bodies, and autism is this limitation of how I'm able to express myself, but don't doubt that there's some magic inside of me. It was amazing. So I did more research and I wrote an article, my perspective on how advanced souls that are very they're very far along in their journey as souls, and they are deeply connected to source and very easily able to transmit love. Those advanced, as I call them, blue souls from this book that I read, there's so many pieces here. I feel like I'm giving you like a lot of detail, but also there's relevance to it, I'm sure, or I wouldn't be sharing all this. A hypnotherapist who I've read his book, Journey of Souls, Dr. Michael Newton, talks about the identification of souls as they go through their progression. And he calls advanced souls blue souls because of the colors that he assigned them, or that people in hypnosis told him these are the colors. So the blue souls, I believe, are these advanced souls that are deeply connected to love. And so as they embody, as they take on human form, their ability to be present and to transmit love and to be love, they can hold that vibration in a pure way in a body that isn't distracted by, like we are, mind, talk, constant, just sending energy out through words, right? They are able to transmit love in this incredibly powerful way. And so I wrote an article where I shared my perspective on all of that. At the same time, I have a friend of mine who has been doing work with adults with Alzheimer's and children with autism to teach this therapy where you paint in a certain direction and it crisscrosses the neurological pathways, and it's engaging and it's fun. And so the students who are working with my friend are seeing an improvement in how they communicate and in their abilities. She has so much more she can share, but it's amazing. And they love it. They love painting. They love creating. And so in these sessions with her, they have been creating these incredible works of art. So Patty and I got together and we took her pictures. She printed out a whole bunch of them, and I came back and had this huge stack of beautiful paintings in my printout, and I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't sure, like, how do I match up the A to Z with the, right? It was so intense. So I just put it on the side. And this is how our journeys go. There are stops and starts. There are places of fast forward movement, and then there are pauses where we rest. We see this in our relationships. We see this in our careers. We see this in our health, right? We like fly into something and we do great and we lose weight and we get trim, and then we hit a plateau or we pause for a little while. And it's a time of integration and kind of settling into whatever it is that we're working through or expanding. So that's what I needed. It was like this time, okay, awareness, understanding, some clarity, and sit. Sit. So that's what happened. And then a friend of mine came to visit. It was a year and a half ago because they came last year. And gosh, time, right? Time goes so fast. She brought her daughter, well, she had her whole family with her, and her daughter and I sat down, and she's extremely intuitive. And she literally was like, boom, 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 this. And she put the whole thing together. And so there was this puzzle that was created of A to Z letters and these beautiful pieces of art. And so I looked at it, I loved it. We agreed it was right. And again, I put it to the side, and I wasn't quite sure. It wasn't the right time, but it was something that I was going to work on. And it just sort of sat for a while. I had the printout up on the wall, and I saw the A to Z letters every single day. And I had the folder over here all organized, and nothing happened. And then last October, I don't even know, it was in a meditation. It was just this, I describe it in the book as a tap on my shoulder. It was just this clarity of, it's time. It's time. It's time for this to begin. It's time for the next phase. It's time for the next creation, right? And we've all had this. We've had this, I'm sure, in our careers and our relationships. It's like, whoa, something's about to change. Time. Step up. Do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. And so in my normal way of doing things, I was like, yes, let's go. And so I charged forward. I'm like, we're going to do this project. And I meet with Patty, and I'm like, let's go, let's do it. Right. And I'm ready to go, fired up with all my energy. And it wasn't, let me see how to say it. It was time for me to focus on the project. It was time for the project to enter its next phase. And my work, I can see now, months later, my work has been to hold the space for all the parts and pieces that needed to be completed to come into alignment. So just because I decide it's time, everything should get accomplished, doesn't mean anything. It's always a co-creation. It is always a co-creation. So when we are looking at relationships, we often think, well, because I want this to be so, it's going to be so, or because I'm ready for marriage, or I'm ready for divorce, or I'm ready for children, or I'm ready to move. When we have all these, this is what I need, this is what I want, so it must be the right time because it's moving through me and it needs to happen. It's always a co-creation. So what is the other person in the relationship also working on? And sometimes our work is simply to hold space for that other person to work through whatever they are, or to use the mirror of the relationship to go, okay, that is showing up in my awareness. Why? What can I learn from this? Right? For me, patience. Like, what can I learn from patience? A lot. A whole bunch. And for others, it's there's just so many reasons why the brakes would need to be put on something. And so that was what I experienced. It was like I was ready to go, get it done. I started the InDesign document. I started dropping things in. At Christmas, my adopted children came, and I was like, look, it's so great. And now here it is, it's May, right? It's always it's like the molding of clay, or, the forming. It's much like making a baby. I have 2 children, and I don't at all want to take away from the beauty and the individual uniqueness of having my children, each of them. But the birthing of a creative project is very similar to that. The child, the book, the home, the career, the health, whatever it is, it needs tending. It needs space. It needs to be able to form and move and breathe in the ways that the energy are moving through that creation. So this book, it's a collaboration. It's not just me. It's Patty, who's doing all these sessions with these beautiful children. It's each of those students that have created and contributed their art to this project. It's the families who hold space for each of those artists. It's what else? It's the people who are going to help promote the book. It's the community of autism. When I'm what I'm bringing forward may be a little unorthodox or out of the traditional thinking about how we experience this label of autism. And so is the community ready for that new, for the veil to be lifted perhaps in a different way than it has been before? For Patty, Patty's going to be bringing the abundance that's coming from this book is funding art therapy sessions. So, Patty had her own work to do to be energetically ready to do more work, to do more sessions, to love more children, to really bring her gifts forward in a bigger way. And so it's not just me, it's this collaboration of all the people involved. And when we make huge transitions in our lives, when we get married, when we get divorced, when people we love, die or transition, like there's so many moving energies, so many people who are all co-creating to that event, that experience, that time, and being aware of that. Honoring that there is a divine timing that is perhaps out of our hands. It's not always our decision to say, I'll speak for myself, it's not always my decision to say, the book's ready, let's go. No, the book is forming. It's forming. And there is a flow, a gush of energy, much like when you birth a baby in the old natural ways, right? Or I just saw this beautiful video that my friend shared of an elephant delivering a baby elephant. And the elephant's just standing and moving and, out in the wild. And then all of a sudden it just moves and there's this gush of water and out pops the little baby elephant. Just like that, right? Birthed into existence in the exact moment that it was supposed to happen. And it's like that for us when we are in alignment, when we are in absolute flow with the highest purpose of our life. There is a sudden whoosh of energy that scoops underneath us and then just carries us into whatever the next threshold is going to be. And that's what I've been feeling for this book. There has been, I'll give you a couple little nuggets just to show you how magical alignment and signs can be. So let's see which. So one of them is the precision. That's not the right word. Honoring the highest beauty of the paintings. So Patty does these incredible paintings. They're vibrant, they're alive, and then they take a picture of the painting when they're complete. Sometimes the student is with them, and sometimes it's just the painting. And so pictures, they change how things look. We all know that, right? Pictures have a filter on them, and so it doesn't always look the same way. And so when I received the pictures from Patty, some of them were perfect and some of them were a little dark or a little grainy or not quite capturing the perfection of the painting, the vibrancy of the painting. So when I started to put the book together, it shows that in the book, because you're taking a digital image and you're putting it into a software, and you're kind of trying to make it all align and match in size. So some pieces have to be stretched, and so it's not perfect. And so when I was showing it to Patty, she's like, "That's not high quality enough." And I was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. It's a small book. It's gonna be a little book. It'll be fine." And she was like, "No." I was like, "Okay. All right, we'll wait. We'll get it right." And she has a full-time job, so she doesn't have time to read you all these images. And so we're kind of going back and forth. Well, in the middle of that, I had ordered some new copies of my book because I send them out to different people. And so I sent the order in like I normally do. It came back from Create Space, and the color was terrible. It was like this neon yellow, like you would see on a construction site or a danger zone sign. The cover had this like neon ugly yellow, and I was like, what happened to my books? I've received all these other copies and they've been perfect. Like, what is wrong with the book? And so I put it to the side. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like contact them and order new ones and ask them to reprint, and it's going to take time, and I've got the hassle of trying to deal with this. And so I just put it to the side, and then I was meditating the one day, and I was like, oh my God, this is why it showed up. It's to show me how how I have this understanding of the colors the way they're supposed to be. And so I wanted to look the way I wanted to look, and I wanted to properly represent the colors it's supposed to be. So it literally played out for me of exactly what Patty was holding space for her students. And I was like, oh yeah, totally. We are not sending this book out until the colors are perfect. There's no shortcutting anything. And so once I had that awareness and I realized what had happened, I emailed CreateSpace, and literally it was the simplest, easiest process. The person was like, no problem. Yeah, here, give me the information. Done. It was delivered within a few days, taken care of. So there's this whoosh when the awareness is landed and you're back in alignment. So that was one. I mean, there's been so many beautiful moments like that. The other one that I wanted to share, this just happened this week for me. Well, and one sidebar too. At the same time, my husband is literally working on a book. No kidding. Like, he's putting together this huge 300-page handbook about his technical theater department, and it's everything he's ever learned in his career. It's so much information. And so he's sitting at his computer on InDesign and talking to me about all the frustrations, and I'm on my InDesign. Like, we've had these parallel tracks, you know, of the urgency he's feeling because it has to be done by the end of the summer so he can get the information he needs out. And then my urgency, which is I just wanted to go into the world and have people hear about this perspective and see the work that these beautiful students are creating. And so we've had these parallel tracks. And on Saturday when he was home, he was just saying to me, like, I need to work on this. I need to work on this. And I was like, I think I'll go lay by the pool. Or, but I knew it was time for me to work on it. And so I'm watching him and I was like, oh, it's really time for me to work on this. So he went to an event that night and I came downstairs and literally it was that same whoosh. I sat down in front of the computer and it was like boom, 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 all the pieces, everything. It literally just fell into place. Actually, backtrack for just 1 second. There was a piece about the size. Part of what I had felt from the very beginning, and this is again, you know, drawing the parallel to how we have these rigid expectations and these deadlines and these hard boundaries that we put everything in this box, right? I have to do this by this date. I have to sell by this date. I have to fix by this date. I have to achieve this thing. Like, we give ourselves these rigid boundaries. And from the very beginning, I knew this book was supposed to be 10 inch by 10 inch. It was supposed to be a solid size. The numbers were right. This is what it was supposed to be. And so I designed it to that size after checking with Amazon to say, can you print to this size? Yeah, of course. All done. Design. I'm thinking it's ready to go. This is a couple weeks ago. I'm thinking it's ready to go. And I go to upload a draft and there's no option for that size. So I email them. I'm like, what happened? You told me that I could do it at this size and there's no option. How are you going to fix this? They came back and they're like, you're going to fix it. We're not fixing it. We don't print that size. So you're going to have to resize your book. Not in that abrupt, but that's literally how it felt. And so I pouted for a little bit. For several days, I pouted. And that's part of my resistance. When my husband was working on his book, I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it. I have to resize the whole thing. You know, it was just so difficult. And once I realigned, I was feeling into it in a meditation. I was like, why? Why is this showing up? Because everything has meaning. Everything is relevant. And what I feel to be true is that the bigger size of the book is the bigger capacity of the souls that are these advanced blue souls coming into bodies that have restrictions and limitations. And so these big souls are trying to squish down, limit their perfection, limit their ability to shine and be brilliant in these smaller forms, human forms. And so it felt like that was so symbolic of what was happening with the book, trying to take something bigger and shrink it into something that I knew wasn't the right size or wasn't what I saw the potential to be. And it may not sound like a lot. We went from 10 to 8.5 by 8.5, but it's a big difference. it's a big difference in a book, especially in a children's book where children would be holding it. And so I was grieving. I really mourned it. I pouted for a while, and then when I came into alignment again, I was like, okay, I understand why that has happened the way it has. As the book becomes more successful, as this work, this beautiful gift of art therapy becomes more visible, we'll have the funding, and then we'll print in the bigger size, and we'll have bigger versions of the books. So it's a timing thing again. It's not me imposing my will on a situation. It's a timing. So when I sat down on Saturday and everything just sort of flowed into place, it all got done. It all got done. And so I worked on it, I guess it must have been Sunday? What's today? Tuesday? Saturday and Sunday. And I uploaded the final proof to Amazon, and it's still in proof process, but I got to see it on the computer and turn the pages and, spin the cover. Like, get to see it as like a creation, the actual formed creation from my thought form, from my idea. There's a manifestation, and it's visible in front of me. And it's a completion. So I had this list of tasks yesterday to do, and I was sitting moving through my list and marking things off and playing music. And there was just this, when I actually saw the final book, because there's a proof and then the final proof, when I actually saw the final book and I was spinning the cover around, I started crying. I was like, it's here, much like when you have a baby and there's that, what? Like, it exists. I mean, this is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's an energy that's been birthed. And it was beautiful. My old way is to push through and to be busy and to have a task and to go do something. And instead, I went outside and I sat in the sun. I cried a little, and I played some music and looked at the sky and marveled at this gift of life, and honored the journey that it has been up until this moment. Like, it's just this reverent pause for what has been created. And then I came back inside, and this is the last little sign I want to share. In the design of the cover, you have to have what they call the spine, and it's the part where the binding connects from the front cover to the back cover. And the spine is based on the number of pages in the book, so it's a calculation that they give you. So when I was designing it to make sure everything fit, I had calculated the number, and then I wrote it down on a Post-it, and then I put it in, and it was just like, in the moment, you're just not really paying attention. And so I had a Post-it note that had edits and then the number for the spine. And so when I was cleaning up yesterday, after I got the book up, and then I ordered the proof so I can see the copy in physical form before we actually finalize all of it. So I had all that done. I was just sitting here cleaning up, and I went to the Post-it note where I had written down the spine measurement. And literally the numbers, I mean, of all the possibilities, I don't know how this actually happened, but the numbers were 0.2018. 2018, and I just started crying. I was like, what? What possible magic created that exact number for the spine of this book? And the fact that it's 0, we have this, I've had this idea that it's supposed to be by this month of this year, or by this deadline I've given myself. It was 0 2018. There's no time in 2018, just sometime this year the book needs to be shared. It was like an exclamation mark on top of the whoosh of energy. Like, everything is in perfect alignment. This project is coming to a completion, and the completion is the birthing of something new, and it's going to be the threshold into a new beginning. And so flow with that, align with the power of that, and then who knows what's going to come from this next venture. Who knows where the book is going to go and how it's going to resonate, and the energy that is co-created, by these beautiful artists, by Patty, who is so gifted, and then by the words, the energy that was flowing through me when a year and a half ago, when I sat down and created those phrases. So completions. I am sure there are matches for you in whatever topic you have been looking at. So I'm going to see if Jen wants to, I'm going to try unmute you, Jen, and see if you want to talk in case you want to jump into any matches. And if you don't, it's okay to say you don't. So let me unmute you. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. I can hear you great. Do you want to talk about your house?
Yeah. I would love to talk about my house.
Completions and releasing. Next ventures, next phases.
I know. I mean, well, one of the things I'm trying to like take a look at my notes while I'm driving.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Just feel it. You know everything. Don't look at your notes.
I know. No, I mean, I know one of the things that you mentioned that felt true was that there are other things that are co-creating in the process of why it's taking what feels like to be so long for the sale of the house.
Well, let's do a little quick backstory for people who don't know you. So how long have you been in your house? Why are you selling your house? Like, give us a little.
Sure.
update.
So I've been in my house for 9 years and got
Has it been 9 years?
Year. It's only been 9 years.
9 is the number of completion. That's hysterically funny. I didn't know that.
Oh, that's too funny. And we actually, we moved into our house on July 9th, 9 years ago.
Wow.
The day Dan, so that's just an interesting thing as well, too. And so last year I got divorced, and I have been living in my house with the boys by myself for the last year. So I am in the process of downsizing, moving out of the house, and moving in with my parents to allow myself some space to get back on my feet and get my financials and everything back in order.
And you have 4 sons who are what ages?
I have 4 boys. I have one who is a senior in high school who literally had his last day of school today. I have a sophomore, an 8th grader, and a 3rd grader.
Wow. So he had his last day of school on the day that we're talking about completions. I mean, you seriously have so many signs.
I know, and it's weird because I said 2 years ago that I wouldn't sell my house until he graduated.
Which is what day?
Sunday.
Yeah.
I guess I kept thinking that like somebody would make an offer before then, and we'd close and move in June.
You still might. I mean, you still might. You don't know that.
No, I know, but I mean, you know, Joe and I didn't do a lot of updates to the house, and everything that I keep hearing from my realtor is that people want more updates in the house. And so I keep being encouraged to reduce my price. And, you know, I said to her, I'm like, just tell me what I need to do right now, because I don't want to hear what you have to say, but I'm ready to hear what you have to say. And she said, because I haven't updated my bathrooms and all sorts of stuff, that I was going to have to drop my price at least another, 25 to 40 grand.
Wow.
And like, I'm not getting that much from the sale of my house because there's a lot of expenses that go along with closing on the house.
Right.
And was hoping that I was going to be able to pay off the debt that I incurred from the marriage through the sale of the house. And by having to drop the price, and her point to me was, even if you drop the price, you're not going to get that price. You're going to probably get 95% of that. So I'm not going to get close to what I thought I was going to get, and I won't even be able to pay off half my debt.
So can I share something?
Yeah.
I'm here. It's okay. Take a breath. Take a breath while you're driving.
I'm in stop and go traffic, so I'm not going very fast.
Good. Maybe that's a good thing right now. Stop and go traffic. Even that is so literal, right? Like, I was thinking about this because I knew you were going to be on and we were going to talk about your house. And I remember when my husband and I found this house, we had been looking for a while. The house had been on the market the whole time that we had been looking, but I remember it was out of our price range. So I was like, oh, you know, I saw one picture of it, but it didn't even appeal because I'm like, we can't afford that house. And so we just skipped right over it. And we were looking at other places. He still had to sell his house. I had just sold mine. I'd moved in with my parents, much like you. Like, there were all these moving parts. And the owners of this house sat on it for 3.5 months. Like, they had really no interested people at all. And I remember when we finally were like, can't hurt to see it. You know, we can't find what we want. We're going to raise our price limit, even though it's more than what we think we should be doing. Like, we'll just go see it. And we walked in this house. We pulled up the drive and I was like, this is our house. Like, this house has been waiting for us. And then we came into the house and I remember I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want. And this is perfect. And we're going to do this. And I remember the realtor going, well, they're not going to budge. They're not going to, do what you want. And I wrote an email to the couple and I said, this is where I want to raise our children. This is the place that we're going to live. Our family is going to live in this house. So can we negotiate? How do we find a middle ground? And we did. Like, we completely were able to make it work. And it was because my husband had finished what he needed to complete. I had done what I needed to complete. And we both were ready to land, and the energies were at the right time. So I would say,
go ahead.
I would say don't lower your price until after your son is graduated, because you made a claim that you're holding to. So why would you lower your price if you know already that you're going to be there through graduation? Like, focus on graduation.
I know, but like, everything everybody keeps telling me is that it is too high price and there's not enough updates to it. And my best friend this morning said to me, Jen, I have to be honest with you and say, I wasn't very impressed with your house. I know you put all this time and effort into it, and it didn't look like anything special to me.
Oh.
You know what? You aren't doing it. You need to drop your price because you haven't put in updates. You know, and all you're doing is thinking about what you're going to get out of the house. You're not thinking about how these people are going to feel when they come into the house, right? Because you haven't made all of these beautiful updates.
How do you feel about your house?
I wish it was nicer. I mean, I've done a lot of work. I mean, we've talked before. I mean, I'm angry, or I have been angry that Joe and I never did anything to the house. We didn't stain the deck. We didn't make updates to any of the bathrooms. We didn't take care of it in a way of making it look, all the carpets are horrible. They all need to be replaced. Who wants to come into a house where the carpets look like crap? And the air conditioner needs to be replaced. The hot water heater blew last week. I had to replace that. So, I mean, I've done some things to make it look nicer, but I've already spent $20,000 that I don't have
to get it to the point of
get it to where it is now. And for someone to now tell me that it's not worth what I paid for 9 years ago.
All right. I'm going to do some energy work. Are you good?
Yeah.
Are you?
Because it's making me feel like I'm not worthy.
I know.
And I worked so hard on focusing on me and my worth. And you saw that picture I sent you on Sunday. And I'm like, okay, I'm turning the corner. Like, I'm in this good place. And now there's still something there. And I don't know what it is.
I know. Are you able to pull over, or are you still driving?
I'm driving,
okay.
but slowly.
All All right, you keep your eyes open. I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to see what we can look at. All right? You good?
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
I'm
So
behind a blue truck.
behind a what truck?
A blue truck.
Blue's good. Blue's a good color. We're talking about blue, advanced blue souls. You've got all that loving energy around you. All right, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to see what we can see, and then I'm just going to share it with you. So you're receiving and you're paying attention, but you keep your eyes open, okay?
Got it.
Good. Okay, we've done this so many times before. All right, the last time we looked at your house, you were at the front door, remember? And you were, it was like you wanted to come outside, but you could feel that your children still had some things to complete inside. You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. And so you've been working on that. You also have saged the house. I remember you did a ceremony by yourself of walking through and completing and celebrating the house and all the memories that you have had with it.
Yep. I did that. And one thing I haven't shared with you is I actually had a conversation with Joe last week, Wednesday.
Awesome.
About apologizing for everything. It's kind of like the same ceremony I did, but specifically to him.
Awesome. Good work. Good work. That's a big deal. That's a really big piece of it. Good work. Yeah. All right. So let's do an energy read of what it looks like in this moment, because we've kind of been following the house through the phases you've been going through. All right. Yeah. What I would say, there's a sadness that I'm feeling. It's like before when I saw you at your house, like you were looking out the front door and it was like, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. Right? Like, why are the kids dragging me down? Why is the ex-husband in the front yard? Like, why can't I just go? Like, the feeling I felt from you is let's go into the future. You weren't looking back in the house, you were looking out into the front yard. What I feel now is the house, this sounds funny as I say it, but it's like the house energy is sad. Much like when we're in between jobs, it's like the house is at an in-between point. It knows you're leaving. Regardless of what you're going to have to do, it knows that your family is leaving. And houses have energies, 100%. They have a vibration and a feeling that they hold because they are space holders, containers, just like the work I do, like the work you do. So the house is also in between because it knows you're going. It doesn't quite know who is coming yet. And so there's an in-between unsettled feeling. Does that make sense to you?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, have you walked with your boys through the house? Like, how have they separated or untangled energetically, or not yet?
I don't think they have.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big things that came up is all about them.
Yeah.
And, just focusing on loving them and being there more for them. And that I haven't been the mom that they needed me to be all these years.
And that's hanging on to what was, right? That's retelling a story of what was. You in this moment are super present with your children. The relationships you've created with them, have been stronger than ever before. The conversations are deeper. Like, that's an old story that you're still holding on to. And that's part of what's dragging down your self-worth. So as you can let go of that and just sit in the space of, I have not been perfect, right? I have not navigated this journey perhaps in the way that others or myself would judge as perfect. And here I am right now, and I'm solid, and I'm planted, and I'm present, and I'm supporting everything that's happening in these boys' lives. Can you feel that?
Yeah, do I need to have a conversation with them?
It's not so much a conversation. It's like a celebration, when the energy feels sad, and I'm sure it's because the kids know they're leaving their home and they're going to stay with your family. So it's another transition, right? And they just have gone through the divorce. So here's another transition coming. your son is graduating. There's a shift in the dynamic of the children because he's graduating and he's going to be going to college. There's so much changing. And so as much as you're wanting to say, this is my deadline, this is my hard date where things are supposed to be finished, there are all these other players that are involved in the co-creation of energy with you. So it may just simply be not talking about selling the house until after graduation. Maybe saying to them, like, we're going to put this whole thing on pause until we've celebrated this next phase that he's moving through. We're just going to put all our attention right now on this family dynamic that is a celebration, instead of focusing on the house. Do you know what I mean by that?
I mean, I don't even know if we're focusing on the house.
How much of your conversation is about the house?
With the kids?
No, in general. With the realtors and with other people.
I don't know. I guess it depends. I mean, it's probably caused the most amount of stress and anxiety, especially when my realtor gives me the same feedback over and over again. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm frustrated with her. Because it's like, if my house really wasn't worth what it is, then why did we price it at the price we priced it at? Mm-hmm. You know, and is there something about money that I'm missing in this whole thing? I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say it feels like because there are so many moving parts, for just a few days, he's graduating on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
For just a few days, turn all focus off on the house. Tell your realtor pause. I mean, nothing is going to be that different a week from now for you to say, I'm pausing all of it. I'm going to be 100% present for my son, for graduation, for this family. I'm going to go through this completion that we're going through as a unit, right? You and your children. We're going to be fully present and celebrate all that's happening in his world, and we'll pick it back up next week. And then your work is to sit in meditation and to just keep releasing. Like, what other connections or cords do you feel to your house? What other, like, for me, when I meditate, it's the same thing as I was saying with awareness. I didn't see that 0.2018 was the number when I was rushing and busy and not noticing. When I was quiet and still and I saw it, then I could receive the validation of, I'm on the right path. I'm following the completion in the way that's the highest alignment. I feel that for you. When you're not focused, you just do it for a week. You don't have to do it forever. Give yourself a 1 week pause. You've prepared the house. You've painted the whole house. You've done the ceremony. You've done the releasing. Turn it all off for 1 week and just focus on your son and graduation and see what shifts, right? In your quiet time, get really still and just release. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear you. I think the thing that I'm stuck on is the whole money concept. And trying to figure out if there's something that I need to clear around money.
I feel like money is everything, right? Because it's an exchange of energy. I shouldn't say money is everything. Money ties into most things in some way because it's how energy is exchanged. Mm-hmm. So yes, I'm sure that there will be something that you will have to do with the price. But it's like what I was sharing about when we bought our house. You can look at the money as the block, right? We could have never come to this house because of the price that they were holding for themselves, of what they said the money value needed to be. We would never have even looked at it. But because we were willing to think outside of the box, we came and we talked and we had conversation and we could share connection. We could exchange truths. We could exchange visions for each other. And then the money became secondary to the energy. The energy is, this is my home. I'm going to live here. Right? Their energy is, we're tired of holding on to this home, and so we're going to accommodate and make adjustments. I don't know that lowering the price right now, and I'm not a realtor, so you don't have to take my advice. Energetically, I would say hold your value. Hold your value, focus on graduation, and reassess it next week. And then see, is it really money? You made a statement you guys weren't going to leave the house until your son graduated, and you're 1 week away. Is it going to hurt for 1 week to wait and ride out this beautiful completion and then deal with the money in the house next week?
I guess, I mean, yeah, no, I know that there's,
I like when you say that. I know. I know, but.
Well, no, I mean, I know that the solution is never about money, that if there's a money problem, that there's something else that's out of alignment.
See? This is why you're so brilliant. You already know that.
I know that. However, at the same time, I want to know what's out of alignment.
So I'm repeating your words back to you. We're in relationship in this moment, and I'm mirroring back to you what you said. What's out of alignment is you want it done, and you had already said you're going to be there until he graduates. You're pretty powerful, and you know this. When you say something, you tend to kind of move the energy to match what it is you're setting your intention on. You're the one who has words of the month, right, Jen?
Yeah, acceptance.
What was this one?
This month is acceptance.
Of course it's acceptance. Don't accept what I'm telling you. Don't accept my advice.
I thought I was going to accept an offer.
Well, that would have been nice. That would have been nice. I would guess that your son, it's Chris, right, who's graduating?
Yeah.
I would guess that Chris's energy is pretty planted, that all he's focusing on right now is graduation and celebration. And so his energy may be overriding yours as far as wanting the house to be sold. Right? There's a timing that is happening, a merging of all of the energies that are co-creating right now. It's exactly what I was saying about, my house, well, the book. Like, I could have pushed that through, and yet Patty needed her time to get her things together, and the artists were doing their thing, and the families. Like, there are all these other players. But your house is the container for you and your sons right now, and there's something pretty significant happening with your oldest son, and your house is still holding space for that. So celebrate. Have a big party. Like, make it a celebratory house.
Yeah, I mean, we're having a party in like 2 weeks. I don't know what I was going to say.
What is the word for June?
Embrace.
Well, that could go in lots of directions. It could be embracing the unknown, embracing the new. Yeah,
I mean, it always goes deeper than I expect each month.
Yes. Yeah.
It's all good. And usually I feel the month before the month. So, like,
right.
Embrace is probably starting already.
Yes. So I would offer a bridge for you. I would say for the next week, really create some time for yourself and be still and tune in. It doesn't have to be a lot, right? You can do 20 or 30 minutes and just breathe and center and ground and bring your energy in, and then just ask the question, like, what else is there to know about this situation? What is there to know about the players that are co-creating this with me? Is there anything I can release? Is there more I can do on my own? Right? Just ask those questions, and you may be amazed at what clarity you get in that space.
Well, and it's interesting because two things. One, I've had a bunch of people tell me to switch realtors.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of me that's saying, as much as I don't like some of the things that are going on right now, like, if I didn't choose her to be my realtor, like, I wouldn't be in the situation I am right now. Like, I wouldn't have had the last 2 months of all this growth.
Right? Right.
You know, like if my house would have been priced lower, you know, back in March, maybe my house would have sold.
Yes.
But that's not
Yes.
where I needed to be.
Yes.
Like, I needed to be here. So everybody else could be pissed off at her, and I am at times, but I'm like, well, maybe there's a reason. There's something deeper here. And the other day, I picked a card for each of the 6 different focus areas of my life.
Uh-huh.
And the card that I picked for the sale of my house was believe. It was just have faith in the magic.
And that's literally how it works. It really is. Like, I never would have believed that we would have created what we did here. Like, you have no idea who's looking at your house online and going, I wish we could do that. I wish there was a way. And when your energy shifts, when you are like, it's time now, everybody is where they need to be, all my work is complete. It's a subconscious thing, right? When you're like, ready, there's going to be that whoosh. It's, you know this. There is a when things are in alignment.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah.
I know,
like,
you know.
There's a flow, you know?
Right. Right. So the fact that you're not experiencing that yet, instead of resisting and pushing and trying to make it happen and what else do I need to do, and then being so upset like it's a reflection of you, instead just go, I'm surrendering and I'm refocusing my attention on the completion that is more relevant right now. Honestly, I feel like Chris's soul has sent you to this call, so I could say to you, focus on Chris. Chris is graduating. Put all your attention, and you have a lot of beautiful attention. Put it all on Chris, because this is such an incredible time in your family.
Mm-hmm.
So the house will sell, and it may or may not make a profit, and that's irrelevant right now. What's relevant is what you are creating with your son, the completion you are going through as a family. That's the priority.
Yeah, and you know, I'm almost thinking it's kind of similar to what you were saying with like dating the guys and all of that. Like, take your focus off of them and put it on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that's the same type of thing. Take your focus off the house. Just let the house be, and put my focus on my boy.
Yes. And you know how that's happened before. It's like when you're trying to get something done and then you get distracted and you look at something else, that thing you want to get done suddenly happens because you're not like contracting it, right? It's like, I'm not putting my hands around it and squeezing it so it won't happen. That's what happens with houses, I believe. That's what happens. So Is it going to sell in the next week? I don't know, but it's not relevant right in this moment. So switch your attention.
Yeah, because there's too much, I'm going to say, attached energy to it. Exactly.
So that may not be what you wanted the answer to be, but it's what feels true to me right now, which is, you know, your primary work that you've been doing is realigning with being this mother, this really strong, tender, beautiful mother who's present with her children. And so the completion that you're walking through with Chris, that's your priority right now. Even with learning the new job and figuring out next steps and all of that, it's Chris. It's Chris. And maybe just telling him that, like, I'm not going to talk about the house for the next week. I'm just focusing on you. We're going to really celebrate you. Maybe that also shifts some of the energy, because I don't know what he's feeling, right? We don't know what he's holding in his empty space. Yeah. And then you're going to have to give us an update. You're going to have to tell us what happened.
Of course I will. You know, I've got another graduation next week.
It's just never ending. It's good. All right. I'm going to mute you and wrap up because you and I love to chat and we went long, but it was so good. Be safe driving and celebrate Chris. I'm sending you tons and tons of love. And Chris.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye, sweetie. All right. All these examples of completions and where our energy and our attention goes. There is a beautiful, I'm going to wrap up with this. There's a beautiful song by Asato Ma Prayer called Every Heartbeat. And I heard it a while ago you know how songs just pop up. I heard it a while ago, and I sent myself an email with the link from YouTube. I kind of stumbled on it, I'm not quite sure how. And it sat in my email inbox, and then the other day when I was clearing out emails and catching up a little bit, I saw it and I clicked on it. It was Sunday, of course, right? It was the day I uploaded the book and had all that magic whoosh. This beautiful song came up again, and so I started to play it, and I've literally just been playing it on repeat for the last 2 days, and it's a mantra. Like, you can just repeat this and feel the calm that it brings to your system. It also, to me, feels like a really beautiful anchoring in of this feeling of completion that I have. You know, like we're transitioning. Let me rephrase that. I am completing a project that I've been sitting with for a while that is very tender to me, that is going to go out into the world as this new energy, right? Jen is helping her son complete into his next threshold. Like, there are all these moments where we're letting go of what has been familiar. We're letting go of something that we have loved so deeply and giving it space to take on new form. And for me, completions just get really tender. And so the mantra that Alicia sings, you know, from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality, the mantra that Snatam Kaur sings has that same steady vibration, and it's just been bringing me so much joy. So the mantra is, every heartbeat is God's name to me. Every breath of life is ecstasy. And she sings it over and over. She chants it in this 5-minute song. I invite you to look it up on YouTube and play it and just feel the calm that comes over you as we feel completions and we're not sure what the next phase will be, what the unknown is that we're stepping into. This song feels like it unites all of us, and it dissolves the old and the new, leaving one and going to the other. It's like every heartbeat is God's name to me. Every breath of life is ecstasy. There is so much to be thankful for. So let's not take any of it for granted. I send you off into your adventures, your completions, and your beginnings with so much love. Mwah.